Pac-Man has a question for you about a brand new program we just heard about.
Yeah, the Giants did spend $100 million on their quarterback, and we just found out they'll be doing hard knocks. As a GM, coming off a shitty year, just got rid of Barkley, all the eyes on you. Are you for this hard knocks thing? And how in the hell does the NFL pick the New York Giants out of any other team that we could have picked for content?
I think it's going to be great, Pac. I agree with you. If I were the GM, I wouldn't want it, but we're going to get down to the bottom line. Remember the rhetoric that was coming out that the Giants wanted Alt, and that's why they were trying to trade up. They didn't want the quarterback, which to me is kind of an indictment on watching their quarterback, right? Like, why wouldn't you want a quarterback? I watched Daniel Jones play. We need a quarterback. But they said, oh, no, we want the left tackle. But then they made no attempt to trade with Arizona when Alt was still on the board. Like, they stopped trying to trade for the third pick once May went off the board. So it's a little bit of a confusing. Maybe this hard knocks off season with the Giants will allow us to. You know, these hard knock things are dangerous for franchises. I think we've seen coaches who have been in this get fired because the fans see what their coach is doing, and they're like, wait a minute, that ain't very good, right? This could be really bad. Like, you have to come out and, like, you want to show people that you kind of have it all together. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Look, everybody thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl in May. We'll see if their offseason that the Giants had this year is good enough.
Hugh Jack City. First person I think of.
Oh, man. Yeah.
First scene of Hard Knocks for Hugh, who we are a fan of. Yeah. He's been on the show.
Great tequila.
He's got tequila. You know, we think first scene of the first episode of that Cleveland Browns after they lost every game the year before is him at a charity event saying, I know I can win here. I can win here. And I'm like, I've never heard a coach say, I can win. You know, any coach has said we or this is what we need to do. But, like, the way he was talking in the first scene of the first episode, I'm like, this doesn't seem like this.
How about his team meeting? How about his staff meetings? Freddie Kitching became the head coach because he was the only one in that staff meeting that actually sounded like he knew what the hell was going on. Like, he got a battlefield promotion based on those meetings. I mean, that just shows you how bad it was, right? Like, and then when you let those cameras in, look, I think it can go both ways. It can enhance you, but it could hurt you.
Yeah, but it's good for the fans to see, like, oh, yeah, this team is inept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Exactly what I thought. Because who was about to – Haley, right?
Yeah, Todd Haley was,
Todd Haley was about to fight Hugh Jack because he wanted somebody to practice. Yeah. Hugh Jack said, we can't be practicing. And he, like, actually, in the middle of the meeting, put, like, his hands on, like, the side of his head. And it's like, wow, this place is as dysfunctional as advertised. You're right, Wamba. I haven't even thought about that I assume GMs talk about you don't want to get Cleveland, do you? You don't get exposed out there at all.
Haley had that recommendation.
Oh, it happened way before, too. It happened back in Kansas City when Herm was there. I mean, they had a scene of Herm sitting in his office deciding on who was going to be his starting quarterback. I think one of them was, and neither of them, it was Brady Coyle was one of them and Damon Hurd. That he was deciding on which he was sitting there pondering it, and I'm sitting there watching it saying, you don't have a quarterback. There's nothing to ponder here now. You don't have a quarterback. Like, when you don't have one, you don't need to ponder. Like, let's just go on to the next guy.
Flip a coin. What were you going to say, Ty?
There was just that scene where Haley was like pitching something to Hugh, and Hugh was like, yeah, well, when you're sitting in my seat, maybe we can do something like that. But it just completely shut him down. And yeah, I think a lot of people did think they were going to get into a fist fight at some point.
We were talking about this before we went on air with Pac-Man, who's a big Bengals fan. This wrist thing, okay? We talked to AJ had this surgery. D-Butt had this surgery. Somebody came out and said that no other quarterback has had the same surgery that he had on his wrist. This is more of a physical contact type wrist surgery or injury. And D-Butt told us right before we went on live, like, the issue with it is that the blood flow is not really as good.
That was a part of it. That's what the doctor that did the surgery on me, because I played most of the season with the injury. And usually, even if you don't get surgery, bone injuries will heal on their own because of the blood flow. But this one, it didn't. So part of the surgery was like redirecting, some of the veins or vessels or whatever. So it'd be interesting to see him obviously take falls.
Bingo.
Plan. That's something he has to do every game as a quarterback.
How worried do you think, like, for an injury, let's say any injury that could be a lingering injury, especially at a massive position, and we know Browning is there and he played well last year and everything like that.
Yeah.
Duke is thinking about that over there in Cincinnati with the obscurity of this particular wrist injury at the quarterback position, or having other backup plans, or do you just have to go, all systems go, Joe's going to be able to make it?
I think they go all systems go. But what you guys brought up to me is interesting. Is with if the blood flow doesn't get into his hand, does that mean his hand gets cold and it doesn't have a real good feeling in it? I think that would be my concern. Listening to that report is a quarterback's hand on the football is all about his feel and making sure. And if it's cold because of the weather, because there's not enough blood flow that gets to your hands, and you have blue things around your fingernail, that makes it very challenging. Now, you can get hand warmers and all that.
Your fingers get cold?
That wasn't an issue for me. It's literally the blood flow to like those bones. And I would, you'd much rather get a doctor on here to talk about it because I'm sure everybody's injury was
You're
different.
a doctor.
You're a doctor.
So it wasn't
DR
like it wasn't like
Dr. Butt.
my left hand compared to my right hand didn't get any, more or less cold.
How about the movement? Because AJ says his hand.
Oh yeah, no,
in
it's
some
I've
people.
lost at least 50% of.
So that's what AJ said as well. 50% of it, and for those positions, it doesn't. Really, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. Obviously, it affects
No, not
things
as much,
like a jumper, maybe a golf swing.
Exactly.
But whenever you're trying to tackle or just catch, like you can make do. But with quarterbacking, like that's a flick of the wrist is a massive part of the entire thing. I hope Joey B can just have a year.
Yeah.
Where he can just be who the hell he is, which is an absolute savage.
Just the year.
Okay. Because the wrist thing is a little bit worrisome just because it's never happened before. Pac-Man has no fear.
No, I don't. You said Joey. One wrist is better than both of you guys quarterback. But anyway, make a long story short. D-Butts, I was going to ask you this question. You feel way more than probably what Joey going to fall with playing gunner and doing all of that and using your hands more.
Yeah.
You think it's going to affect them that much?
I mean, just the landing aspect of because you're going to break your fall and you can't.
Nah, he's going to fall right on his face. All right, Joey B. Joey B. Joey, we got to start working on just straight up face. Just face bumps. No arms.
Jiu-jitsu. He's got to take jiu-jitsu. He's got to take jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he does. He's going to take, actually, Taibo maybe, because I think the best landing would potentially be left
Yeah, you're right.
with no right.
Yep.
I mean,
And you got to have that core stability with a double time go. He's going to have to.
Latua.
That's what we need him to get into.
Latua could show him the way.
Yeah, Latu's his name. Okay, so let's go ahead and have a little bit of respect. Go ahead.
Me and AJ, both of us, we played months with the injury. He didn't play. He got the surgery kind of, I guess, shortly after it. So maybe his recovery could be much better. But, I mean, it's something to be concerned about because Joe Burrow, his career, even coming in from college, has kind of been riddled with injuries. We know the talent he has, but your quarterback got it. Your best ability is availability, especially at that quarterback position.
Last question here from me about the schedule release. Other than preparing for first coordinator you're going to play, and maybe the first, are you preparing for the first? What should we look for tonight? Obviously, the international games.
I think a lot of it
announced.
is like, okay, when you play that Sunday, who do you play Sunday? Who does Buffalo and Miami play the Sunday before that Thursday game, right? They'll know each other there. Those are always ones that you want to look at. How physical the team you have to play before you play on a short week. That's something that I always look into. You want to make sure that you understand that. And then you really have to do a good job on those holiday games if you have them, because it's going to be a short week of incorporating those games within your summer training camp so you have an idea on who you're playing there. And especially like if you're Seattle and you're playing the NFC North, right? Nobody knows what Mike McDonald's going to do. So if you're Detroit, you got to get ready for Baltimore, who you really don't play very much. You got to get ready for the Baltimore defense, and you want to see that. And then you want to play new staffs early in the season. I think that's really important as they kind of get going because they haven't had a full season to get their programs in place.
New staffs, maybe new quarterbacks in new places. New. They're not going to be able to figure it out.
Look at Jordan Love. I mean, Jordan Love at the beginning of the year last year, LaFleur was really protecting him. And by the end of the year, he was developing them. And that was a huge difference. Remember, the Raiders beat him at home, and Love did not play well. He threw 3 interceptions in that game. They were protecting him. But eventually, by the middle of the season, he just exploded. And I think that's kind of like for me, I'd want to play the Chiefs earlier in the year as they kind of go through their offense and changes what they're doing defensively. They lose Snead. The receiving room isn't different. That, to me, is what you want. You want to get somebody earlier in the season.
Okay, so I like where your head's at. I want the Chiefs in the middle. The middle, they get bored, seemingly.
Yeah, aren't they undefeated in September?
Well, that's what at the beginning it feels like shows back.
No, they
in
lost
town.
the Lions week 1 last year.
Baltimore and Cincy are both 4-1. Baltimore and the Chiefs are 4-1 in opening games. Both coaches are the same on opening day. But my point about KC early is I think there's an idea that they're going to go back to becoming more offensive than they were. They still have to play the same way. They got to win with their defense. I'm not sure they're off. We don't know who their left tackle is going to be. The receiving room with Rashid Rice, that suspension, if it happens, coming. So there's a lot of question marks there. They'll be well coached. They'll be prepared. There's no question. But early in the year, figuring out who they're going to be on offense has to be based on last year.
I love all of this. Thank you. As we watch tonight and hear about the games leaking throughout the day, we'll keep an eye on all those things. As punter kicker, I want to know when we're going to windy places. Yeah. Earlier in the year or later in the year. Debo, what are you looking at?
Cold games. Yeah. When are the cold games, and then when's the bye week? When's our bye week?
And you in Cincinnati, I guess every game's potentially cold. What else are you looking for? Matchups?
Well, cold is the main thing. I really don't like going to Kansas City or Pittsburgh, like late December, early January, because that wind off the river, oh my God.
Yeah, nightmare. Absolute nightmare. How about matchups?
Catching punts, too.
How about matchups?
Oh, it don't matter. Every week is a good matchup.
Yeah.
I love matchups.
You're going to get a dog.
Yeah, you're going to get a good matchup.
Okay, so that's not even a
thought.
Okay, not even a thought. Oh, are you looking forward to week 3? You're going to be taking, well, week 1 and 2, they got guys too.
Yeah,
so,
pretty warm
let's
week
make
3.
sure we're taking care of all of that. Hey, Lombo, we appreciate you for joining us, brother.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Good luck.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Lombardi. You too.
Hey,
Can't wait for the inevitable letter from that author.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Worst book in the
Might send your
history
book.
ever.
I might send it to you.
I hope so. I'll be able to tell you if they're lies or not, too. That's a good thing about nowadays.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, you're right.
Everybody knows everything. How is that the case? I'm not getting into it.
There's arguments on
Internet.
both sides forever, no matter what.
Stats on both sides,
Exactly.
too. Stats on both sides of every argument. See, not everyone. There's certainly some outright winners. We definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And there's some antiquated thoughts that are potentially given during speeches by people.
Yeah.
And it's like we can't let that sector make us feel any differently about us, but also we can't think that sector of people is bigger than it actually is. That is always going to exist. Always going to exist. We hope not. We hope we get to a place where no assholes exist.
Amen.
Okay? That's what we're hoping.
I think we need assholes.
No,
My-
we're
my
not saying like the good ones.
We're not
saying
we're
bad
talking,
ones
we're
only.
talking like super duper at.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
Like just like people that are just on purpose, seemingly completely against every trend of common sense.
Trolls.
And
Trolls.
Dogs.
Boom. There it is. But you're right. We do need some edge, shit talking.
Yeah. Soldiers.
Outlaws. Oh, we get that. But we're talking about just like people that are never just going to, you know what I mean?
Out in public.
There's never going to be a whole, we're hoping for it. But we can't let those people
Break through.
think that they're they're not.
No.
Let's just, all right, we're all